Hi everyone and welcome back to Planning Plain. In this video, as promised last week, I will be doing a review / comparison of two planners that I've been using for quite a while. The first planner that I used in 2023 and 2024, so for whole 2 years, is the Common Planner by Sterling Ink. And the second one is the Yearly Notebook by Papertess Designs that I have been using since the beginning of this year, so for about 10 months. And while sharing my personal experience with these planners, I will go into different spreads, how I use them, what I like, dislike. So it will be more of a personal overview. I will show you specific tasks, specific ways I use the layouts, and share my thoughts on which planner would suit you best based on your needs. And if you're someone who's still trying to choose your planner for the next year, I hope that this video will be useful. Both are great planners, but I think they're still slightly different. And before we jump into it, I just want to tell you what this video will not discuss, just in case you expected it. So first of all, I will not discuss any other planners that are produced by these brands, because I know that Sterling Ink, for example, has more options in terms of different sizes, layouts, colors. So I will not discuss all the options. I will focus only on these two planners. And second thing, I will not compare them in terms of the price, because one thing that is important to consider, depending on where you're based in the world, is that Papertess Designs is an EU-based brand and Sterling Ink is a US-based brand. So of course, the shipping plus tax plus all the other charges, that would be different based on where you from or where you live right now. So without further ado, let's jump right in.
The first page of the planner is kind of the same. You have the name of the brand, the date, and you can choose to decorate it and have some kind of title page or just to leave it blank. And with the second page, we already see some differences. Common Planner goes directly into the yearly calendar that I use as my travel tracker, by the way. And the yearly notebook goes into the index page. But it says reference index, but essentially it's just a blank page that you can use for anything else. And you have a second page that is also blank right away. And I think it's great to use for your goals or any kind of information that you know you will need to refer to regularly throughout the year. So for example, even though I know that there are a lot of blank pages at the end of this planner, I want to know exactly where my goal spread is. So I want these spreads to be available at the beginning of the planner. That's why I like that the yearly planner provides a lot of blank pages at the beginning. But don't get frustrated with the common planner yet, because the common planner also goes into the blank page, but only after the yearly calendar. So this is the blank page that you can use for your inspiration board. I have my GTD workflow map, for example, my trackers again, so everything that I need to locate regularly throughout the year. So there are not many differences. However, this planner provides you with two blank spreads that you can utilize in whatever way you like. And this one, the Common Planner, provides you with one, but it also gives you the organized goal breakdown spread that the Papertess Designs notebook does not have. Let me show you. Here I covered it with a tape, but here you can still see the titles of each of the column of the goal breakdown. The idea is simple. You have the category of your goal, and then you have a someday, 1 year, half-year goal. You also have your quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily goals or habits. But if you want to organize this spread as I did or in any different way, you can, because these writings, they're very small and it's easy to cover them with the washi tape. For example, here I did my goals, what I want to be. I want to be healthy. What actions do I need to reach this state? What specific actions I can do? What are the tools that I can use? And then I have my achievements per quarter. So if you're someone who likes the pre-made spread for your goals, I think that the Common Planner will provide you with this opportunity. But if you're someone who appreciates more creative approach, who wants to be flexible, like me this year, for example, I I think that the yearly notebook is great because you just have more blank space that is not restrictive for you, but both are great. I love both layouts. After that, we have another difference. While the common planner goes into the quarterly planning straight away, we have another additional spread in the yearly notebook by Papertess Designs. You have a yearly calendar. So it's a little bit different from the yearly calendar that you have in the common planner because here you just have a calendar, right? But also what I like is that you have this blank page on the left. So if you really want to mark something in the calendar, you're still provided with the space to have, like me, for example, a key for the countries, or if you want to do the photo of the month, how I did in this planner, I really like this. You can use it not only for the photo of the month, for example, but like for a short list of monthly highlights, goals, things like that. I like this. Again, it provides you a more structured layout for this. So technically, you can do it with this calendar in the common planner, but it doesn't provide you this structure. So again, depends on what kind of person you are and what approach you like to take to your planning, whether it's more creative or more structured. Now we're going to put the common planner on hold a little bit because we get another spread in the yearly notebook planner. This is the yearly overview that is very similar to the one that Hobonichi planners have. And I use it to mark birthdays and holidays, and I discussed it in my previous video why I don't really like this spread for this. I feel like that there is not enough space. Some people use it as a yearly tracker, or maybe this one is also good for your travel or vacation tracker or anything that you want to have like tracked throughout the year. I don't think that this is the layout that I really need in my planner, but again, it's my personal subjective opinion. It depends on you. If you're someone who is used to Hobonichi layouts, I think you would appreciate this one. The next layout in the yearly notebook, which is similar to the common planner, is the quarterly goals. In the common planner, you have your quarterly goals together with the tracker. And this is something that I really like. Why? It's because of this system that I'm following when I think about my end goal and the kind of lifestyle I want to achieve. So I can lay it all out here. But then for the small actions, small habits that I need to follow in order to achieve this goal, I can use this layout. Last year, I did monthly highlights here and I tracked my habits here. And I think if you're someone who really likes these habit tracking layout, this kind of spread would work very nicely for you because you can also make different notes, more notes about your habits. You have a pretty standard Hobonichi-like, again, layout with the habit trackers. As you can see, I gave up on it and eventually stopped using it. But again, I discussed it in my previous video when I discussed my personal development character sheet and why I'm switching to that instead of tracking my habits, but more on this in next videos as well. So after the habit tracker layout, we go into the quarterly layout. In the common planner, this is the quarterly layout. You have your priorities, your monthly goals, your quarterly goals, and you have your habit tracker. And it goes like this for all 4 quarters. Then it goes into monthlies. So again, let's put this one on hold. Here, you have a slightly different layout. You have those little monthly spreads and then these 3 blocks that are, again, great for quarterly tracking, quarterly goals, monthly tracking, and so on. I would say it is quite useful if you like the monthly spreads. I don't, but I still found some use for these spreads, especially when I still had my master's studies. I put in some deadlines and so on, also some project tracking. So this was useful. But again, it's not something that I personally would miss if I don't have these spreads in my planner. But I think that if you like monthly spreads, or for example, you have a specific project, let's say you're working a full-time job, but then you also are taking an online course that lasts a couple of months, or you have like a side hassle kind of thing. And you don't really need a lot of extra space for that, and you don't want to mix it up with your main job or responsibility, and you would like to have it separately somewhere, this is a great option. So you can track all this on these 4 spreads because you have the calendar and the space to write. For me, while I was studying and having still a lot of classes, this was useful. With a full-time job, I don't think I would be using this spread anymore. Now, before we get to monthlies, we have another blank page. And I know that I started this video by saying that I love those 2 planners equally, but now in the middle, I'm kind of changing my mind. I hope that I'm not biased because I love Sterling Ink Common Planner, but I really appreciate a little bit more space at the beginning to have these references, these trackers. As you can see here, I had the silent to-do list. These are the things that you silently think about, like, oh, I really need to fix that leather jacket, but you never really do it because it's never written down, because it's not like the top priority, but it would be nice to do things like cleaning the hard drive, right? It's not a priority at all. So I like having this list here to refer to it from time to time. When I have some free time during the weekend, I go here and see what are those things that I have been postponing for a while that I can do. And I also did this fun 25 things in 25 kind of spread. So again, I like having these things here. But if you're someone who only wants to do functional, let's say work-related planning, study-related planning, doesn't like all of these kind of lists, ongoing spreads, I don't think you need it. Now we have a similar structure. We have the monthly spread, the weekly spreads, and then the blank pages for daily notes at the end. But here comes the major difference between 2 planners in terms of the layout. For the common planner, you have all of your monthly spreads together, and then you go into your weekly spreads, and then you go into your daily spreads. And they're all together by months, by week, by day. In the yearly notebook, you have your months, then you have some kind of, again, blank space, monthly layout. Then you have your weeks that are, by the way, don't let this fool you, this is not a vertical weekly spread. This is actually a horizontal weekly spread, but we will get back to that. So let me show you with November because it's still blank months. You have a monthly spread, your standard one, 2 blank pages for your monthly goals, reflections, yada yada. Then you have your weekly spread, and then you have your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 blank pages for each day of that week. And that's how you have it. You have your January, February, and so on. And every month is kind of together. So I want to talk about this a little bit more because there are advantages and disadvantages that I see to both. If you watched my video from last year, I complained that I find this layout quite illogical. I want every month to be together. And now I feel like I'm changing my mind. Let me explain what I mean. So first of all, it really depends on what kind of spreads you use and how. For example, I don't like monthly spreads. I don't use them, don't like them. So if you look at this planner, I used a monthly spread basically as a list. Then I had some deadlines for my papers. Then I had kind of nothing, then nothing again. And then some attempts, more attempts of deadlines, but mostly they're empty. And the further I get into the year, the emptier they are. I tried to do something. I tried to do like the content planning, but none of it worked out. And it's just because I don't have this habit of referring to monthly spread. But it's a very personal thing, right? You might be someone who thinks that I just can't figure it out. I'm not very bright probably, and these are the best spreads ever. So if you're someone like that, maybe for you it makes sense to have all of them together for every month, together with the rest of the months, like here. Why? Because you will use them for actual planning of your months. And then you know that this is your month, this refers to that specific month, and you will refer to it. If you're someone like me who uses them either for something completely separate or doesn't use them at all, then I think this one makes sense because you can just disregard this whole section or use it as lists. Look at what I did with this one. I used it basically as a collection of movies that I watched that year. And that's it. And if you look at this year, it's not that much better. Again, you have a lot of empty spaces. But at the end, also, I have the shows that I watched. I have the highlights, I have the board games that I played. So for me, it makes sense to have all these months together because I use them for something else. They're not getting in the way when I'm actually planning my months or my week. I don't know if I'm making sense. I hope I am. And I hope this is the insight that will help you make a decision about the planner because this is important. And the same goes for daily spreads. For example, I'm someone, let's say I love journaling. Yeah, this makes sense. I have my monthly, I do my weekly planning, and then I do every day of journaling. Journaling. I share my thoughts, I doodle or whatever format of journaling I like. This format makes sense. But let's say I'm someone who does not like journaling that much, and let's use this planner as an example, because this is what happened, right? I had all these empty pages, I had my index. I tried to have some kind of plans. I tried to have some kind of spreads here, some kind of trackers, but then eventually I just had too many blank pages at the end. So with this planner, it's getting frustrating. And let me show you why. So this is my week of September 11th. This is my weekly spread. These are my notes on my reading journals. So I did use some of these blank pages, but then for this week, for example, I didn't. And I have one blank page. Here it's even worse. I have 4 blank pages, 5, 6. And then I have to go into my new spread with my new monthly spread that I don't use. And so I have all of these blank pages in the middle of my planner, and I don't like wasting them. So at some point in the future, actually, what I do is I write down the numbers of blank pages that I have left. And then at some point in the future, I need, let's say, take some notes that are temporary notes. And I'm like, okay, I need to go to page 370. And this is where I have my blank page, and this is where I will take my notes, just not to waste paper. So if you're someone like me who is paranoid about wasting paper and you don't journal much, maybe this layout is not something that you need. Maybe this layout makes more sense because you have all of your blank pages at the end and you will use them in any way you like. And you know that if you need a blank page, it's there. You don't have to flip through your whole planner or write down your blank page numbers like I do, because that's crazy. So I'm not saying that one is better than the other, but for the next year, again, I've already mentioned I'm staying with the Papertess Designs planners, but I have this one where I have all of my blank pages at the end that I really appreciate now, because I don't think that this is the amount of blank pages that I actually need, to be honest. This is a little bit too much and it's becoming way too heavy for me. But again, if you're a journaling person, if you need that space, this planner is great for it. All right, so we figured out the main layout difference. Now let's go into the difference in terms of the weekly layout. As I mentioned, this one is a vertical week. This one is a horizontal week. I love vertical planning, normally for work-related tasks or study-related tasks. So let me show you an example. This is a random week. I just open a random week. I have some of my main goals at the top, and then I want to see the day overview to visually identify how much time I have. So let's take this Thursday, right? I have a study meeting from 10 to 12:30, then in half an hour I have French. So I have this half an hour. I'm not going to do anything in this half an hour. I'm not going to do anything before 10. I mean, brushing my teeth, showering, eating breakfast, but if I want to fit more productive tasks, this is not happening because I will be free at 7 and I will be free at 7 after the workshop, which means I will be tired and I will be home around 8. So when I see this, I know that on Thursday, nothing is happening. Like I'm not going to film a video, I'm not going to study after I come back home. So this is what really helps me. And I think that this is the layout that is useful if you have a lot of things going on and they're different from one week to another. Because one time in the past, when I used a horizontal layout was in fact when I used Hobonichi weeks. I had a similar horizontal layout here, and why I used it that year, because I only had one full-time job. In terms of the vertical layout, it looked the same. I started at 9, finished at 6. Whatever other activities I had after 6, I could write down here. But otherwise, there were no situations like random workday starting at 7 or ending at 9 p.m. So that is also the reason why I'm switching to this. Again, these are just my thoughts. This is how I understand the difference between these two layouts. Please share in the comments if you have different experience. But what I can say from my experience is that if you have like one job, you go to one job, you have one thing, you have scheduled activities that are not changing much, I don't think you need a vertical layout. I still like it. And this year it has been a lot with the studies and so on. So what I did for this planner is actually I bought a tape. This is the tape that I got. It comes in the pack of 2. I bought it from the Papertess Designs website and I bought 4. So I bought 2 packs of 2. And I still have like 1.5 left. So I've been using it almost for every week, not for every week, but almost. And in case you want to do the same and you're wondering, will it be enough if I buy like 4 of these, so 2 packs of these, I think it will be enough. Maybe you will have some of it left at the end. So what I did is I had this space for something else, like here it was highlight of the day or something I'm proud of, went to the pool, started intermittent fasting, all these things. And then I would stick this tape to give myself this timeline and I would still plan vertically. But for this, you would have to either write the date on top or stick the sticker, which looks a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. So I did that. But again, my thoughts on it, first of all, I think it's great because you have this flexibility. For example, I'm trying a different layout here. So I just made myself this little layout. And this week, yeah, this is the week, I made a little vertical one and the horizontal one to try out the layout from this planner. So with all of these blank pages, if you're not journaling on them, it kind of provides you with that bullet journaling like experience when you have some space to design your own weekly layout. Again, if you're someone who does not want it, who wants structure, you want everything there to be ready to use, I think that the common planner is better because you already have everything laid out for you. If you like vertical spreads, but you want to use this planner, your solution is the tape, unless you want to write the numbers, the timeline manually, which I think it's quite a lot of work. And that is why I went with the tape. But again, it's an extra expense, a little bit of extra work as well, extra thing to have with you if you're traveling, for example, and you want to plan your week ahead. So these are my thoughts on the differences between the layouts, because on one hand, yes, it all comes down to horizontal versus vertical, but it also comes down to how flexible is the layout. This one is not very flexible. I love it. I love how it's done, but this one is more flexible. For example, this week in September, what happened? My mom came to visit. What did it mean? I don't have any timeline anywhere because this whole week we're traveling with my mom. So I just leave it be. So I think this layout provides you with a little bit more flexibility. Now to the last section of these two planners. The blank pages. Here, I've already mentioned you have the blank pages throughout, but you also have extra. One thing that I don't like about this planner, it's huge. So if you want to leave it at the office or you want to have it only at home, wonderful. But if you want to carry it around with you together with your laptop, your lunchbox, all of your things on a daily basis, I feel like it's a bit much. Plus, I also used it with a Motorm cover, so altogether it was quite large. Same goes, I think, for the full year common planner. But if I compare the two, I think Papertess Designs is heavier. So here at the end, when you finish your last week, you have these blank pages and I use them for different lists. I have lists related to my projects. I have the list of my grades, my reading plans, things like that. And here there is not a very big difference with that. The common planner provides you with a lot of blank pages at the end and you choose how to use them. In both planners, they're numbered, but again, I mentioned that I will not discuss it, but it's worth mentioning that Sterling Ink, you can choose what is the amount of blank pages that you want, because on their website, they have more options. You can have a blank page for each day of the year, or you can have less blank pages, and so on. Now, final thoughts and conclusions. I don't want this video to be very long. I hope that I wasn't biased, because sometimes at certain aspects I felt like I was, but at the same time, I don't think that one planner is really better than the other. They're just different. It all comes down to your goals. If you want more structure, you would go with a common planner, I guess. If you want to be a little bit more flexible, you want more journaling space throughout your months to have it all together, I would suggest going with the yearly notebook. In general, paper quality wise, printing, cover quality wise, I think they're both relatively the same, because both brands are really working on improving their planners every single year. Both brands are very approachable, by the way. I had experience with writing comments or sending emails to both of these brands, and I think that if you have questions, the founders of them or the support of both of them would be very, very happy to assist you with your questions. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you have any questions, because I used both planners for quite a long time. Both of them were my only planners throughout the whole year. So if you have like any specific questions like, oh, I need to plan this and this and this, which one do you think is better? Please go ahead. I really enjoyed reading about your experiences in the comments, and check some other options, because there are a lot of other planner brands out there. I think these ones have been very popular recently, and I personally have a wonderful experience using both of them. And if you're curious about why I'm choosing the weekly notebook for 2026, also by Papertess Designs, you can check out my previous video. Thank you so much. Tell me what you think in the comments. Which planner are you choosing for the next year? And I will see you in the next one.